Hello and welcome to another video tutorial from screencastworld.com. In this series of tutorials I'm showing you how to create a MySQL database and database user to support the installation of Magento Commerce. You can find the other screencasts in this series either on the Screencast World YouTube channel or in the show notes, which you'll find on screencastworld.com. This screencast focuses on using the MySQL databases area within your web hosting CPanel to create the Magento database and database user. In the previous screencast I showed you how to use the simple MySQL database wizard, also found within the control panel. The MySQL database area is just another method for those who need to create databases and database users more quickly or who have more familiarity with database administration. Unlike the database wizard, which walked you through each step of the way, the database area is a single screen and you complete the necessary parts. The principle is the same, however. First we create the database, then we create a username and password, and finally we associate the user with the database. If you log on to your web hosting control panel, or CPanel for short, you'll get a screen which looks similar to this one. Now you'll need to scroll down until you get to the databases section, where you'll see something similar to this. Now for this screencast we're only interested in the MySQL databases area, so I'm going to ignore the others for now as they're covered in other screencasts. So after clicking on the link you'll see a page which looks similar to this one. Before we begin, let me familiarise you with what we have on this page. At the top we have the Create New Databases area. Next we have the ability to check databases and database integrity and repair the database if at all possible. Following on from that, we have a list of databases which have already been created. Underneath this, we have the ability to create a new user and assign a password. Below that is where we can assign users to specific databases. And finally, we have a list of database users which we've already created. As you can see, all the database related operations are in the upper section of the page, and all the user administration activities are in the lower area. If you watched the previous screencast where we used the wizard, you'll see striking similarities as to the order in which we need to do things. So, scrolling back up to the top of the page, I'm going to create a new database. On a shared hosting platform like this one, your database name is automatically prefixed with your web hosting or cPanel username. This makes your database unique within the hosting provider's database namespace. It also provides a modicum of obfuscation to our database name, although your cPanel username is easily guessed by anyone who knows how the username is generated. Now when choosing a database name, remember what I said in the intro, security through obfuscation. MySQL supports database names up to 64 alphanumeric characters in length. If you're on a shared hosting solution, you'll typically find that your web hosting provider limits the database name to around 16 to 18 characters. This limit also includes the prefixed username and underscore. If you're on a dedicated server, then your maximum length is limited by MySQL itself, so refer to the MySQL documentation for more information. So I'm going to enter a database name of Magento01. You'll need to choose something unique and a little more creative than this. Just remember that entering something like Magento or Mag is easily guessed by hackers, so try to avoid these names wherever possible. If everything is okay, you'll see a little green tick. If you enter an invalid database name, you'll get a red cross and a message, something similar to this. Now here we can see that my message is that the fact that the database name has gone beyond the maximum of 16 characters, so I need to truncate it until we get the success and the green tick. Remember to correct any problems before you proceed. Once you're happy, click on the Create Database button. Once you've done that, you should get this confirmation page which confirms that the database has been successfully added. So I'm just going to make a copy of this database name here so that I have it available for my Magento installation. I'm just going to copy it into a little text editor that I already have open here. And flipping back to Control Panel, we then just need to hit the Go Back button. Okay, so once we're back on the MySQL databases page, if we scroll down slightly, under the Current Databases section, we'll see that our new database is listed here. Note that there's no users currently assigned to this particular database. So let's go ahead and create a user for this database. So although it doesn't explicitly state it here, your CPanel username will be prefixed to the username you enter in the username field, just like it did with the database name. Note that the freeform part of the username is limited to 7 characters. Those on a dedicated server shouldn't have this limit imposed. Again, remember to think about security when choosing your username. This username and password is only required by Magento, and you'll not need to log in using these credentials yourself. So choose something hard to guess, as this will limit your exposure to any attacks. So I'm going to keep the naming convention the same, and I'm going to enter a username of magdb01. Again, you need to be a little more creative with your username. We can see here that once I've done that, I've got the green tick. Again, a red X will appear if the database username already exists or is beyond the maximum of 7 characters. Now when choosing a password, choose something that's at least 16 characters long, using a combination of uppercase letters and lowercase letters, numbers and symbols. To help you, there's an inbuilt password generator. Alternatively, you can use any of the online password generators. I prefer onlinepasswordgenerator.com as it's good, clean, simple and easy to use. But for now, I'm going to use the inbuilt password generator. So clicking on the Generate Password button opens up a new pop-up window. Now I'm going to click on the Advanced Options, and this allows us to set the length, which I'm going to set as a minimum of 16 characters. We can also see that it allows us to set the alpha characters. By default it's uppercase and lowercase. You can choose just lowercase or all uppercase if you prefer, but I'm going to stick with the default. And similarly for the non-alpha characters, the default is to use both numbers and symbols, which I'm going to stick with, but you do have the option of selecting only numbers or only symbols. Now if we then click the Generate Password, we can see that it creates a multitude of passwords for us. We just need to choose one, doesn't really matter which one, and we'll go with that. Now in order for the Use Password button to be highlighted, we have to place a tick in this checkbox over here that says I have copied this password into a safe place. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this password into our text editor. And once I've done that, I'm going to come back, put a tick in the checkbox, and we can see that the Use Password button is now highlighted. We can now press the Use Password button and it returns us back to the main page, where it fills in the password and the password again boxes and tells us that the password we've chosen is very strong. I can now simply click on the Create User button, where we get the confirmation screen which confirms that the username and password has been generated for us. So all we need to do now is click on the Go Back link, and that returns us back to our MySQL databases page. If we scroll down to the lower half where we see all the user administration areas, we can see that our user has been created and is listed under the current users. We still however need to associate our username with the correct database, so under the Add User to Database section we need to verify that we have our database username selected, which we do, and under the database section make sure we have the correct database selected. Once you've done that, simply hit the Add button, and this brings us to the Manage User Privileges screen, where we can select which privileges we want to give our username. Now we can either assign the privileges individually by ticking each one of these, or we can simply put a tick in the All Privileges checkbox at the top, and this automatically assigns all the privileges for us. And this is what we're going to use for a default installation of Magento. So once we've done that, we're going to hit the Make Changes button, and that takes us off to the confirmation screen where we can see that the username was added to the database successfully. Now if we hit the Go Back link, and that returns us once again to our MySQL databases page. Now this time if we scroll down, under the current databases, we can see that our username that we've just created is now associated with the database that we created previously. And that brings us to the end of this screencast. If you've enjoyed the video tutorial, please comment and rate it. It just leaves me to thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again in one of my other screencasts from screencastworld.com.